We're going to have a lot of fun today and actually learn something. Sorry. We are joined by the Rabbi Craig Lewis of the Mitzvah congregation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Well, thank you for being here. I got to tell you, I was speaking with a mutual friend of ours, Bruce Weiss of the River Street Deli, and he used the term seichel during the middle of our segment. Now, I didn't have my dictionary, and I didn't want to prove that I had no idea what he was talking about. So let's have some fun and learn, what in the world does seichel mean?
Okay. Well, seichel basically means common sense, wisdom. In Bruce's world, it probably means knowing that when you get corned beef, you put it on rye or pumpernickel and not on white bread. That's seichel in the Jewish world. But now, it really is common sense.
Common sense. So what is the background? I mean, Bruce will use a lot of terms, chutzpah, and he'll use tuchis. Can you share with us? Let's go through this. Let's have some fun. Share with those of us who don't know what is a tuchis and this is Yiddish, right?
Right. Well, we're going to try and talk about tuchis without showing it off this morning. So, Yiddish really is a language that's derived from a combination in its origins Hebrew and German, and then over the years it got mixed with some Russian and other languages where Jewish people had resided. And then what we know of Yiddish are a lot of words that have been extracted and sort of worked into our English vernacular. So, like tuchis means your rear end or you're behind. My father's grandparents spoke Yiddish, and so they would have used it in context and full language. And here we say, get off your tuchus and take out the garbage is the example we see here. I think that was spoken to me by my wife this morning, too.
Well, let's go through some more. What other? So schmuck, I'm probably not saying that right. What's a good way to say that?
You said it well. This is one you hear a lot in movies, TV shows, even amongst characters who aren't Jewish, because it's worked its way in so much. I mean, technically, it is a part of anatomy. I mean, it is an anatomical word. You can use your imagination to guess what I'm speaking of. But, in common spoken, it's basically meaning, you're a dummy or a fool. People say, what a...
Yeah. Bruce and I are going to have a conversation. I thought that was a term of endearment when he uses me. Okay, this one. How do we pronounce it?
It might be in that case. Yeah. Okay. Chutzpah. Chutzpah. Yeah, that's okay. You're learning Hebrew. This is my job to teach you. But yeah, so the ch, that guttural sound in the throat. Chutzpah is really, it can be being cheeky with somebody. Oh, that guy has so much chutzpah the way he spoke to me. Or it could be really active defiance against the odds, or, the weaker rising up against the stronger. Alan Dershowitz wrote a book on chutzpah and talking about how that's been a survival mechanism for the Jewish people, is that when other people have said you shouldn't be here, we've had enough chutzpah to say, yes, we deserve to continue on.
Oh, that's very cool. All right, Mishigas. Tell me how I should say that.
Mishigas. It means foolishness. I like the example here. Don't have time for this mishigas. It's if people are acting crazy or off topic, you just call it mishigas. And somebody who exercises mishigas, you can say that they're meshuga. And right, that might be a good one for you and Bruce to discuss. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, now I love this schwitz. I'm going to have a schwitz. Let's talk about schwitz.
Every Chattanoogan in July needs this one. Schwitz. You walk outside, the humidity hits you, and I'm schwitzing. And we get that in Temple when the air is not working. It's all everybody's got the sweaty armpits going on. That might be under my coat right now. I'm not going to show, but yeah, that's it. To schwitz is to sweat, perspire profusely, frequently.
So you've got to have some chutzpah to get through the schwitzing during the when you're at the service. Tell me. Let's move into that a little bit.
Yeah.
what is your service? What do you call the service that you have at your synagogue? You're at the mitzvah
Well, I mean, in
congregation.
Hebrew, right, the Hebrew word for service is tefillah, which is prayer. So we can say, we're gathering for tefillah, or some people might say we're gathering for a minyan. And a minyan is referring to the minimum quorum that's required for a service. So it's usually 10. So when you gather to pray, you can say, oh, we're having a minyan at, 6 o'clock, or you can say we're having services, or we're doing tefillah. They're really interchangeable.
Okay. Now you have a beautiful building. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the synagogue?
Yeah, so the building we're in is the third sanctuary that Mitzvah congregation has been in. It was constructed in 1928. It was funded and largely by the Adolph Ox family, who they were the publishers of the Chattanooga Times and then also the New York Times. And he dedicated it to his parents' memory, Julius and Bertha. So we have a strong
Ox,
tie to Ox. Yep,
Ox of the
the
Ox
German
Highway,
Jewish
right?
family.
Yep.
Yeah, same family. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. All right. Well, and so what is that? Let's talk a little bit about the size of the Jewish population here in the Chattanooga area.
Well, 1,500, and I want to say growing. Not fast enough for anyone here's taste, but we are growing, and we are a very strong, thriving Jewish community. So I'm looking back at all these pictures of some great celebrations when we were all in the building together. Um, but
When you were all in the building together, let's talk about that. You are
mhm.
suggesting that you no longer are having, you're no longer in the building together?
Well, of course, with the COVID and quarantine, it's been several months since we've been able to congregate as a congregation, and we've been gathering online through Zoom primarily. And we also have streaming service, and we've made use of Facebook Live, and we've continued to conduct our worship on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. We've gathered for holidays, and we just continue providing services, small s, anything that our congregants need, whether it's meeting with the rabbi, teaching, worship, holidays, together as best we can. And we're not ready to open our building back up yet.
Well, my daughter recognized you. I know that you've been around and you talk. I mean, you are a well-known fixture. You've only been here 3 years and you're already so well-known. I would
You're gonna give me a big head,
imagine,
but yeah.
well, and you deserve it. Now, I would imagine that this is a lot more difficult to lead your folks, and yet I'm also guessing you relish this kind of challenge.
Yeah, it's been tough. We've not exactly having to reinvent the wheel, because there's a lot of people who've been already providing a lot of these things online already, and they've given us guidance in how to do some best practices, improving our sound, improving the video quality, really ease of access into using all the technology. So, we've relied on people who've already done a good job. A lot of churches even have had some good advice, some synagogues who've been doing things online already. So just really trusting in people who know the technology better than I do. And, we've got a lot to learn, but gradually, bit by bit, we're getting a little better.
And so you, of course, have been following what's going on in our nation lately with the protests and the divisiveness. And yet, some time ago, you have led in an initiative, if I don't say three N's in that initiative, to to for some interfaith gatherings. Can you share with us what you're involved in as far as the
Yeah.
interfaith gatherings? And
Well, I don't want to say that I led. I've definitely participated in, and at certain times, different members of our group rise up to lead a certain thing or a certain initiative. We really work collaboratively. Going back to when I served in Nebraska, that was one of the things I really like to focus on, was building relationships, not just with other clergy, but with other religious communities, to show that there's more that can unite us than divides us. And I think that's really essential right now. And to have a lot of those relationships pre-existing has been incredibly helpful. So in the midst of, what's been going on with the protests and social justice movements, to have a group of other clergy and their congregations that we can bring our voices together and have one stronger voice together and support people who are really in need of attention and change. It's rewarding, and it actually helps provide hope, I think, not just to me, but to others as well, to say that there's others who are like-minded and we can be together and support each other.
So what does that look like? In other words, what are some of the other phases that they gather, and what do you all do?
So, in times before there were multiple crises like we have going on right now, we would have fairly regular meetings. We'd have a Facebook group that's internal for our group that we share ideas and thoughts on. Think about some initiatives that we want to be engaged in the social political sphere. Maybe some ways that we can support each other and just do dialogue. And then when things arise, then we get together and work on letters to put in the paper or to write to a specific politician, showing that the clergy, this united group of clergy, supports this particular initiative, or this united clergy, we stand with our African American colleagues in this particular initiative. So it just, by having those relationships, it helps give you more clout and more substance to an argument. Instead of everybody out there fighting on their own, it gives you unity. And it also helps to say that, we all believe in the same God, and that God expects us to regard each other as each being equally created in God's image. And we should start there and actually end there, because that's the most important thing.
And again, as you just said, this predated the current problems, and so there's a lot of credibility. You're not just trying to fix a problem. You've been involved for a long time. I think that carries a lot of weight. So I got to ask you before we go, one of my favorite movies, well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite singers ever is Neil Diamond. And you know where I'm going. One of my favorite movies is a jazz singer.
That's a great one.
If I came to your congregation, would I get to enjoy you singing like Neil Diamond?
Not me personally. My voice isn't as good, even though I'd like to think it is. And on the soundtrack, there's two liturgical Jewish songs on the soundtrack. One being Kol Nidre, which you can hear if you come to our services on Yom Kippur, which will be online this year. It won't be Neil Diamond, but somebody will be singing it. And also Adon Olam. And I always call the version he sings the Neil Diamond version, because that's the one that he sings on the soundtrack of The Jazz Singer. It's a good movie. Not as good as the original with Al Jolson, but
I have heard that, but I just am a huge Neil Diamond fan. Well, Rabbi Craig Lewis, I thank you for your time today. It's wonderful for you to spend time with us, sharing with us, having a little fun at the beginning with teaching us Yiddish words. But I appreciate what you're doing for the community, and sincerely, I mean, my daughter's, I know him. I mean, that's amazing.
I look forward to going back to Baylor School again, and thank you so much for having me. And just everybody stay healthy and stay safe, and remember, we're all in this together.
Yes, sir, and I thank you again.
Thank you.
Like and share this video, like our page, and subscribe to our channel.